Dark Souls 2 is shaping up to be a much more difficult game than its predecessor. Welcome again guys to Souls News. An embargo has just lifted on some more details about Dark Souls 2, and these are probably the best facts we've heard for a while. So sit back, relax, and let me share them with you. If you want to skip ahead to something more interesting, check the description. The three biggest pieces of news are as follows. 1. Summoned phantoms now have a temporary lifespan. 2. Every time you die as a hollow, your maximum health will decrease. And 3. Every player is now open to invasion, and that's regardless of whether you're hollow or human. Well, you wanted Dark Souls 2 to be harder, and that's what you got. Now, Dark Souls had crutches. If you were having trouble, you could summon a phantom to help you. If you wanted to avoid being invaded, you could just stay hollow. Well, now From Software just kicked those crutches out from under you, and they're about to kick you while you're down. Because if you die in hollow form, your maximum health will decrease, and the level will get just that tiny bit harder to punish you for your mistake. Me, I love these changes. Let's talk about the summoned phantoms first. I hadn't thought about this before now, but it's ingenious really. If summoned phantoms have a time limit, it fixes a few problems. 1. Ganking will be more difficult. I'm sure it'll still happen, but this changes everything. Imagine you summon help to defend you from an invader. If you don't act quickly and kill the invader, then your summoned help will fade and you'll be left alone to fight him. Now this gives the Red Phantom a bit more control over the situation than he had previously. Instead of the host just waiting in a safe spot with a bunch of summoned help, you'll actually feel threatened by an enemy who comes into your world. You'll need to get him out as soon as possible with your Phantom, so that you can progress through the level with your partner. A few other things to note here: the more enemies your White Phantom kills, the less time he has in your world. This means the host will have to do most of the work. As I said before, no more crutches. You can still summon help, but you'd better pull your weight this time around. Now the next thing, invasions. In Dark Souls there were two states, hollow and human. You could only be invaded when human. In Dark Souls 2 there's no easy way out. As long as you're connected to the net, you can always be invaded. Whether you're hollow, human, it doesn't matter. You're vulnerable wherever you go. The PvP guys should be really happy with this one. Not only do we have proper servers now, but now that everyone is vulnerable, imagine how much easier it will be to invade. The pool of people who can be invaded should have just increased dramatically. Now, a few people actually complain about being invaded and even go as far as to play offline, but I don't understand those people. Being threatened by other players is part of the experience. Even if it's unbalanced at times, it's so exciting trying to progress through a level with someone in your world trying to kill you. I've never really found any other game that gives that same adrenaline rush that you get when someone else invades you, and this goes doubly so for launch. If you've never played a Souls game at launch, then you're in for a good time. It's such an amazing experience to explore with and against other players who are just as overwhelmed by the game as you are. One last note on this topic: covenants are going to be much more important this time around. One covenant in particular has leaked. It's called the Way of Blue. Assumedly that's a name in progress. Anyway, when you join this covenant, when you get invaded by a Red Phantom, you'll get a Blue Phantom tasked with protecting you from the invader. The last piece of news I've got for you guys is regarding death in Dark Souls 2, and this is arguably the most major mechanic change we've heard to date. In Demon Souls, you operated with 50% health if you were in soul form. You could restore to human form and get that health back. In Dark Souls, there were two states, hollow and human, but there was no real gameplay disadvantage to either of them. Now in Dark Souls 2, every time you die as a hollow, you will lose a bit of your maximum health. I imagine it'll work like this: die once, that's 10% health less. Die again, that's 20% health less, and so on until you're left with a minimum of 50% health to defeat the level. That's your punishment for making mistakes. Now in the lore, hollowing is a constant process. You lose a bit of humanity every time you die. This mechanic of losing a bit of health every time you die actually suits the lore a bit more. Now, a while ago From Software expressed that they were kind of displeased with how humanity worked in the original game. I mean, look at this, I spent hours customizing my waifu and I end up looking like beef jerky for the entire game. Now in Dark Souls 2, according to Polygon, humanity as an item seems to be completely removed. Apparently you restore to human via a consumable item called a human effigy. An effigy is a sacrifice, so I assume you're sacrificing someone else's humanity to restore your own. Lore implications aside, I assume that when you're human you won't lose maximum health. If you're hollow, you'll be operating at a lower life bar every time you die, and you can restore your health bar by restoring your humanity. I love this change as well. It's a tough but fair punishment. We've dealt with similar punishments to our health bars in previous games, like Curse and Soul Form, but losing a bit of health each time is more incremental than losing 50% of your health at once, so I assume their reasoning was that you should be skilled enough to overcome it as you learn more about the stage you keep dying in. So those are the major points, but I'm not going to leave you just yet. I'm actually going to leave you with a few facts I got from EpicNameBro's recent video. He played a demo version of the game, and he took the time to look at a few facts that people would have missed. I recommend you watch it since he goes really in depth for you guys, but I like to keep it short, so if you don't have 30 minutes then I'll sum up most of it here. A link to his video will be in the description. Okay, so casting speed is allegedly increased by attunement, magic and fire damage seems to be increased by intelligence, lightning and dark by faith, and poison and bleed perhaps by dexterity. He calls attention to a new stat, maybe called agility, but he might have mistaken this for dex. At any rate, it seems like roll speed and animation speeds seem to be affected by a stat now, rather than exclusively by the weight of your character. Now, we've theorized that rolling looks to behave differently in previous videos, so this would account for that. Also, parrying is now different. It seems to have a startup before the actual parry, rather than the parry animation being instantaneous. You're going to have to adapt to that prediction. ENB notes that the enemy falls to the ground upon the parry itself, which could mean parrying operates as a sort of crowd control, regardless of whether you actually follow through with a riposte. Again, it's been noted that enemies were really aggressive. They come in groups and they'll chase you down aggressively rather than slowly like in Dark Souls 1. Lastly, enemy management seems to be a very big thing, with combinations of ranged and melee mobs presented together. Considering we have more healing options available to us now, it makes sense that the combat itself will increase in difficulty. Oh, and also a collector's edition has been announced for Dark Souls 2. Pre-order now at EB Games, GameStop or Amazon to get yourself a 12-inch Warrior Knight figure, official soundtrack, authentic cloth game map, a collectible art book, and an iron case for your game. Dark Souls always has great collector editions, so grab one while it lasts. The game releases on the 11th of March in North America, and on the 14th in Europe and Australasia. Still hungry for more Dark Souls 2 information? If you like this video, then you need to see these ones too. There's 2 links on the screen that will help you understand the shape of Dark Souls 2. The video on the left talks about new classes, how backstabs aren't as powerful anymore, and the loss of games for Windows Live. The video on the right discusses the changes to difficulty, new healing items, and the subtle changes to enemy AI. As usual, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're getting really hyped up. Dark Souls 2 is looking amazing. One thing to note in this video was that a lot of information was available because Namco Bandai is directly contacting those in the community, so props to them for that. Anyway, later guys. Oh wait, one more thing.